Ambassador Sheen knows this, about Djibouti and the base there. How large is it, and what is its mission, and what is it, what's its ongoing role in the war, if it still has one? And then I just had a question about the Somali diaspora, and we've been hearing reports of young people from Minnesota, I believe, going home. Is there any additional information that anybody has about the Somali diaspora and why there is young people going home?
Thank you. We'll go ahead and have 4 questions, so please give yours to me.
Sure. My name is Yassine, and I live in New York. I just have a couple of questions. One to Ms. Mongwa. You gave the example of Burundi. They're under a peacekeeping mission, and yet they're willing to lend soldiers to Somalia. I disagree with you on that one, because I think it shows the lack of political will in Africa, to the point where a country like Burundi has to give out some forces for Somalia. In that context, I'm wondering about what you think of the fact that we always talk about African solutions to African problems, but yet Somalia shows the fact that there is an African solution in the form of AMISOM, but yet we can't muster the political will, let alone soldiers, for something like AMISOM. Do you think it's time for Africans to say, well, until we can be able to put our money where our mouths are, that we should start thinking about accepting other people's assistance, perhaps? Ambassador Douala, you talked about the 213 million that was pledged in Belgium. If we look at the cost of the peacekeeping missions in Congo and Darfur, they run about $1 billion a year. And when Afghanistan was being put together, the pledging conference was $5 billion. It's taken 2 decades for Somalia to try to put together a running government. I'm wondering whether you are happy with that figure, or perhaps is there a reason that 2 decades on Somalia can't even muster more than 213 million? Ambassador Shin, perhaps you could tell us what you meant by the fact that you didn't think that the international community should dictate the political process in Somalia, because I tend to disagree with you on that one. If you look at a place like Angola, Mozambique, Cambodia, East Timor, it's taken the international community to dictate the political process, to be able to provide things like what Ms. Iman was talking about, as far as giving her the sense of security that she needs in her job as a journalist. Thank
you. My name is Bobby Jalango, Ambassador Jalango. I'm former ambassador of Kenya to the UN, and I'm from Kenya, a member of Somalia, and I have known the Somali issue ever since I think I was a kid. I have been to some of those refugee camps that you've been talking about. And, my question is to Ambassador Douala. I really would like just to check what's happening. I'm also presently an adjunct professor at New York University, so I double up as former ambassador, former diplomat, and also as a scholar right now. The role of the regional organizations that the Peace Security Commission of Africa so much emphasizes, and which also the UN Security Council also emphasizes. We talk about that the issue of Somalia should be handled by Somalis, first and foremost. Then there is the issue of the African sorting out the African issues themselves, because they fully understand the issues that are taking place in the country. The issue of Somalia is complex and is fully understood by Somalis better than any other person that I have known of. I have handled Somali situation ever since I was in Italy as an ambassador as well. Now, do you see this new phase of the international community that is being talked about? Do you see it as a new thing, or do you see it as a way of going back to what we talked about in Bangladesh, in Nairobi, as the establishing the basic fundamentals of helping the Somali government to move forward. Do you see that as something new, or do you see it as something that it would not be acceptable to Somalis? I'd also like for Ambassador Shane, who talked about several wonderful and beautiful ideas. But do you believe, Ambassador, that there is also that role of the international community to work through the African Union and the regional organization IGAD in the issue of Somalia? Because that, to me, is my belief, that as much as the international community is ready to support Somalia, we have to pass through, just like the UN Article 8 talks about and Article 7 talks about, that there are the regional organizations that are set up. Ms. Monga talked about this extremely well. So I just sort of like just to see all these issues put together in their proper perspective, because the atmosphere is good today for Somalia. It has never been good as we have it this year. And the new administration in the U.S., as I have seen and we have had the pronouncements, this is really the best time, and it's an opportunity, a window of opportunity that we should take. So I'd just like to hear your comments on these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and let the panelists respond.